Welcome back, everybody. If you're here, I'm guessing you'd rather have one of these than one of these. Over the next several videos, I'm going to show you how I build a playset, and we're going to start with the Triton Fort. Now, once you have the Triton Fort plans in hand, page 2 gives you some basic safety information and fall surfacing recommendations. Page 3 is an introduction from me and some more safety information. Page 4, we start building, and I'm going to turn you over to the shop foreman. Take her away, Jack. These plans are designed as a step-by-step process, and today we're going to walk through that process together. But before we get started, I'd like you to take a minute and crush that subscribe button and like the video if you like the content that you're seeing and would like me to repeat more of it. So let's get started. At the top of page 4 is your required tool list. Now keep in mind, that tool list is for a fort and swing set build. For the purposes of this video, we're going to focus on the fort only. So you're only going to need a portion of those tools. Let's go over those tools now. You're going to need a tape measure. You're going to need a couple of pencils. Sharpened ones are best. You're going to need a speed square. Clipboard is always nice with your plans attached, and you can check off as you go. You're going to need a Forstner bit. Now, if you haven't used one of these before, it's an excellent way to make a counter bore. It is the only Forstner bit that you're going to need to be able to build the fort. You're going to need a 3/8 drill bit, a 5/16 drill bit, a 1/4 inch drill bit, and a 1/8 inch drill bit. A couple of other little tools that you're probably going to find handy is you might need a shovel if you have to do some leveling. You're going to need a drill. It'd be nice to have an impact gun. You could build this thing with a hand ratchet. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. And if you buy one of the kits, one of my hardware kits, all the screws have a T25 torque set on them, and I include one of those tips with all of the hardware kits. It's not on the tool list, but a dead blow hand mallet is really nice. It helps you just kind of give everything just a little nudge out of the way. Maybe that was a little bit more of a nudge, but you get my point. And finally, whenever it's all built and you have it installed in your yard, you're going to have to install some stakes, and you're going to need a hammer for that. That's about the only thing you are going to need the hammer for when you're building the Triton Fort. So the bottom half of page 4 is your wood list. The wood list has everything that you would need on it to be able to build the Triton wood fort. There's also a category for building swings. We're not going to go over that today. So now let's move on to page 5. Okay, well now we're at page 5, and at the top of page 5 is going to be a complete hardware list that you would need to build the Triton Fort. Every fastener that you will need, including the fasteners that you would need to be able to attach a pair of hand grips at the top of the ladder. Now you can buy these hardware kits at most of your home improvement stores. You might have to make 1 or 2 trips because a lot of times they don't have the quantities that you need. Or you could buy one of your fastener kits directly from me at autoworksusa.com. I'll pack that kit for you, put it in the mail. It'll arrive on your front doorstep and you're ready to go. No hassle, ready and rock and roll. And by the way, this is where I get a chance to show you just how detailed my plans are. Let's take a look at this. Now, what I really want to point out here is that you could buy a set almost anywhere and you'll have 4 or 5 pages of hardware. I never wanted to make it that hard, so I only have a couple of pieces of hardware. This is all the hardware that you would need to be able to build a Triton Fort. There is additional hardware if you want to add swings, but once again, we're focusing on the fort today. And I've even made it easier than that. If you're not familiar with hardware, you can look at this list and you can tell that that's a 3/8 by 3.5 inch lag, or you can tell that that's a 1/4 inch by 2 inch lag, or you can even tell that there's a 3-inch screw. There's a 3/8 flat washer and a 1/4 inch flat washer, and last but not least is the 2-inch deck screw. And that's all you need. I want to take a second to show you something. I go to great lengths to make sure that all of the fasteners I provide are the same quality of thickness, hardware, T25 heads. But every once in a while I order and I get something that does not match my standards. And this is a little thin for me. It's going to be adequate. You can go ahead. This is used to attach your rails. It's going to do the job. I'm just kind of crazy about these things, and I like everything to be consistent. I'd rather they be consistent in their fastening ability and their structural integrity than I am about the color. So don't be surprised if you get a mix of brown screws or wood screws. Now, when I say mix, that doesn't mean you're going to get a full bag of 2-inch screws, all mixed colors. It means that you might get all brown 2-inch, or you might get all green 3-inch, or vice versa. It really comes down to supply. So my question to you folks is, if you order a hardware kit, please list this in the comments. Would you rather have 2 screws that are structurally the same but are different colors, or would you rather have them all the same color and maybe some of them not being the quality that I would expect? And I say that I would expect because I'm the guy that selects all this stuff. In my mind, I would rather give you 2 different colors, and the only thing that you're going to see is the head color. Nobody's going to look at it. Let me know in the comments if that's something that bothers you. I'm probably not going to change anything. Just let me know. At the bottom of page 5 is your dimensions for the Triton fort. It is 5 foot across the front and the back, and it's 6 foot across the sides, and it's made to accommodate a 10-foot slide. Now, I put a wave slide on there. You don't necessarily have to get a wave slide. It's just a 10-foot slide. That brings us to page 6. At this point, you've acquired your lumber, and hopefully if you're using pressure-treated lumber, you've let it dry out for a couple of weeks before you start cutting. I've already cut everything for the Triton, and I've got them stacked on these tables. On this table here, I've got everything that's going to need a counterbore, which we're going to go over in just a minute. And on this table, I have everything that doesn't need a counterbore. These are going to require some 1/8-inch holes, and this has all of my corner post, my decks, my rail supports, my step ladder supports, everything else that I'm going to need to build the Triton fort. I did make an alternate video on how to build the ladder. It's got more complicated cuts on it. I go over cutting on that. There's going to be a link to the ladder video right up here. Oh, it's over here. It's over here. I don't know. It's in one of these corners. I'll figure that out later. Whoop-de-doo, click on that. That video is really going to help you with the ladder. It's probably the most complicated part of the Triton fort. It's easy, but in terms of building the entire fort, the ladder is probably the more complicated part. Hey everybody, this is Future Jack. It's been about 4 weeks since I actually cut all of the wood for the Triton and demonstrated page 6 and 7, and somewhere along the line I lost the footage. So this is going to be a very brief video covering page 6 and 7 and a quick demonstration of how to use a saw and how to cut your line and how to measure everything out. Something I'd like to mention real quick is that everything you've seen in this video and in the videos following this one are the same steps and the same procedures and the same methods that you would use to build the Endeavor, the Apollo, or the Gemini. Measurements are going to be different. Wood list and hardware list are going to be different, but overall the process is going to be identical. So let's get started. Page 6 of the Triton plans basically takes your wood list and breaks it down into components that you have to cut so that you can build this fort. Now, one quick note, these measurements have been changed for demonstration purposes. Use the measurements in your actual plans when you're building your project. So let's move forward. You are going to take 2 2x4 by 137s and cut them 68 3/8 each. That means when you're done, you're going to have 4 68 3/8 inch boards. And you're just going to go down the list and cut each board according to what the plans call for. Be sure to pay attention to your numbers. 2, you're going to take 2 2x4 by 93.5 and cut them 30 1/4, 30 1/4, and 29. That'll give you 4 30 1/4 boards and 2 29-inch boards. It's as easy as that. Follow that all the way through page 7, and after that, you're ready to go ahead and start marking and drilling holes. So let's get to the part of the demonstration of how you're going to cut your wood. All right, well, I'm not sure where I lost you. Hopefully I can pick this up and make it look like it was one full shot, but it's probably not going to work out that well. My dang pencil broke, and I didn't have my board in the shot, and blah, 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 blah. Y'all don't care. For now, I'm going to use this board to demonstrate how you're going to cut your boards and how you're going to go through this process. First of all, when you buy a 2x6x8 at the home improvement store, that board is probably 96 inches and 3/8, something like that. So if you need the board to be 8 foot, you're going to have to trim it up a little bit to make it right, or you're going to have to account for the overage. From me to you, most of the time, the end of the board is not square. And if you're trying to build one of my forts, everything needs to be fairly square to make it work out right so that the fort is level and plumb and all of those necessary things. So what we're going to start with is I have my board here, and we can even check it. We'll put our square on there, and we see that it's pretty square, but it's out just a tiny bit. I would not be frivolous about cutting off your square edge, because you might have just enough with the blade eating up 1/8 of an inch. If you cut off 3/8 of an inch, you might end up with a board that's 95 7/8. So pay attention before you go and start cutting everything. But what we're going to do right now is we're just going to go ahead and mark a straight line, and that's going to be our cut line. Then we're going to use our speed square as a guide for the circular saw. For just a little bit, we'll line up our blade so that we're making a nice straight cut. And I know I'm off the line just a little bit, but that's okay because this is just squaring up one end. So here we go. Let the saw do the work. Take your time. Don't push it. Well, you need to push it a little bit. Just don't push it too much. Let the saw do the work. So we have a nice clean cut. You can see the difference. And if we put our speed square on there, look how nice that is. That is a very nice cut. You can just kind of see the shadow of what a nice straight cut that is. So there we go there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer over to the miter saw and cut the other end of this board. All right, now we're set up on the miter saw, and we're going to cut a 90-degree. I've already got my saw squared up, which, by the way, another good tip is to occasionally check your miter saw, make sure that it's square, put your square up against your fence, put your blade down, and make sure that your blade is square. I've already done that, so I don't need to show you how to do that. For the purposes of this video, I know that this door is probably going to be 79 inches, but because I might change my mind, and by the way, that's a real thing. That is a real thing. I just might change my mind. I get to pick how big the door is. I'm the designer of the tree houses, so rock on, Jackie. Okay. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to go ahead and mark it at 80.5. And we're going to cut that line. Now, some of you might like to take your square and put it on there and mark a line, which I'll just go ahead and do now because I know some of you are going to like that. And there you have a line to follow. I know my saw is square. I'm really not too worried about whether or not it's going to cut that line. It's going to cut whatever it's going to cut, whether you draw a line on there or not. So we just go ahead and get it set up. We'll do it just a little test drive right there. Make sure we like it. That looks pretty dang good. Make sure we're square against the fence and contact. Just in case I goofed up, because sometimes you say 80.5 and you mark 70 3/8 or do something stupid, or 81.5. I don't know why that happens, but anyway, we're 80.5. And we put our square on there. That's a nice square edge. And there we go. At this point, we've got all of our lumber cut and organized. Our next step is marking every board, drilling every hole, cutting all the counterbores, and we're going to do some sanding, and then we're going to be ready for pre-assembly. This pile of lumber is just a couple of steps away from becoming a backyard fort. I'm really glad you were able to tune in. Be sure to come back and check out Chapter 2. This has been a lot of fun, folks. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Please like and subscribe. Come back and check out my other videos. And be sure to check out Treehouse Update number 2. It's going to be a doozy. Thanks for watching, folks. Until next time.